The impacts of fuel scarcity amidst political campaigns is what we're going to be looking at this morning on our discussion segments. As you can see, politicians are making rounds, campaigning from wards to wards, and of course from local government areas to local government area around the states, various states of the country and around the country. One thing that stands clear is the issue of fuel scarcity as we speak in Benin City, where I stay, and of course where you are watching me from this morning. The cheapest fuel you can get is 280 naira per liter. Some filling stations sells from 290, 295 to 300, 350 naira. And outside Benin City, we also understand that some filling stations sells for us much as 450 naira per liter. What are the issues? What is exactly going on? That is one question on one side. And of course, on the other side, to what extent can the electorate get the message that politicians are telling them this time? Most especially when issues are not too far-fetched from some certain political parties. And these political parties are also campaigning for this year's election. So the big question is, what are you telling us? What change can you really bring to what we have as it were today? Well, to look at this this morning, we are so privileged to have Ayamehwe Edokbolo. He is a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the APC in Edo State here. And also, we are still expecting the IPMA chairman. We invited him only that we're expecting him. So when he comes, we're going to be letting him have a feel on the show this morning. Mr. Ayamehwe Edokbolo, you're welcome to the program this morning on IT.
Thank you especially for having me, my brother.
And a very big thank you for coming. Very tight schedule. You still have to make it through. Okay. All right, so you can see the way I introduced the topic this morning.
It's okay.
Political campaigns and means of fuel scarcity, or the impact of fuel scarcity means political campaigns. There's no doubt that the impact is huge on the average Nigerian.
Absolutely.
A Nigerian that takes 30,000 naira as minimum wage and you expect that person to buy fuel for 300 naira per liter for 7 days of the week. How do you expect such a Nigerian to survive?
Yeah, it's telling on telling on everyone. There's no special market for members of the ruling or governing party, as it were. There's no special market for people that are in the opposition party. So the market is for the general public. And so the same way a person in party A goes to Q, the same way the party in the party P also goes to Q. So it's telling. But I always believe in what I call ROCA. ROCA simply means the root cause analysis. Sometimes we are all in a hurry to heap the blame on someone. And by the time we do the root cause analysis of why we are where we are, or why this cost is this high, you'll be amazed that what you find is in a manageable size. I'll give you a classical example. If you do a Google search now on how much PMS, petroleum motor spirit, otherwise called fuel, is sold in UK and United States.
No, before we
no. Wait, it is good to appreciate. It is good to go.
Because never in the history of Nigerians have we bought fuel.
You see, my issue, Evans, is when you lay a question and you do not give the opportunity, to properly dissect the issues surrounding that question, you create a problem, of critical appraisal of that issue. You see, if you are doing a comparative analysis, you must mention, you are talking of country, Nigeria, you must mention what it costs in other places so that the people will be able to know. Then, why ours is painful is that people have been expecting, abundance of refineries because we have these products naturally endowed in our society. And so there's nothing wrong if we get it for 1 naira and it's sold for United States for 800 naira. Because we have it. We are endowed. And so that is where some of us want Nigeria to be. regardless of how much it is sold expensively outside, we should get it cheaper here because God has endowed us with the resources. That is your concern. That is your pain. As a moderator of this program, you want a better Nigeria, but unfortunately, you don't want to listen to why certain things are like that. Now, the refineries are the issues, and it's sad that the union chairman you mentioned is yet to come. It's my prayer that God facilitate his easy ride to this place so that he can engage Nigerians. You see, there are a number of factors. The union factors are there, the refining factors are there, the import factor is there. We know that Nigeria, largely imports refined products. While we largely export our natural crude resource, we go to process because our refineries in the last couple of decades, have been laid back, have been comatose. Yes, the presidency talked about resuscitating these refineries. But as luck we have it now, we have the largest refinery in Africa, in Lagos, Dangote Refinery, which we are told is going to start in the next couple of days. That is one side. The good news again, Edo State Modular Refinery, has commenced production. Edo State Modular Refinery has commenced production. You can do a Google search. As at yesterday, it was published today, and it's all over the internet. That for me is heartwarming, is welcoming. So if we have another modular refinery springing up in Delta State, we have another one springing up in Anambra. Ondo State is an oil producing state. It produces more oil than Edo, for instance, and we are all aware. Has another one. With these pockets of modular refineries here and there, with the bigger one, and even with the obsolete one that we are, struggling to fix, which is quite appalling, even in the fixing them, when we see that there will be avalanche, of these refined products, and the need to rely on imported products, which is shameful, will not be there anymore.
All right, now, the way you talk now, Yemekwe Edukpolo, was probably the same way that members of your own party, the All Progressives Congress, talked. I remember sometime just before the 2015 presidential election, the party that you support talked so much about, refurbishing our refineries and all that so that they can work again. And here you are again, still talking about these refineries. Now, the question that Nigerians are asking, what changed? How do you want to do it this time? What are you telling Nigerians? What do you want to say to Nigerians that you want Nigerians to take you for? I mean, a government that has done almost 8 years, there's no change so far, nothing it's seen. So what are you telling Nigerians as you are campaigning around this time?
It's my prayer that, you are not systemically involved in a fallacy. If you say there is no change, you will not be right. If you say there is no holistic change, you will be right. There are changes. There are changes in many ways, changes in many forms. The other day we were discussing here, we talked about the railway system that is not available, which was hitherto before this current administration a dream, and now a dream come true. We now have a second Niger bridge. Yes, our roads, Bini Auchi roads, Sapele Road, Express roads, these have become death traps and become dens of kidnappers and all that. A good number of people have lost lives, precious lives have been lost and all that. It's so sad, so disheartening. But the luck is that the roads rehabilitation have been awarded, money mobilized, and we hope that contractors, if they are not already on site now. You see, I will say that it's quite appalling that some of these things that were promised haven't, quite trickled down. But you must also appreciate what, again, I call the root cause analysis. When the president was making these promises, Nigeria is a monolithic economy. We rely on, money received from oil products or crude oil exploration. Now, as at that time, petroleum resource per barrel was over $100 per barrel. It even rose to about 102. The president then, His Excellency Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, conceived of sovereign wealth fund to save, the windfall, because then the budget for petroleum product was about $60 per barrel. But he was selling for about 102, as God will have it. So there was a windfall. So he proposed a sovereign wealth fund that this money, should be saved and all that. Excess crude account. Yes. But unfortunately, that couldn't be because the governors forum, as I know, waged a systemic war against President Jonathan to say, don't save any money, don't save any money, continue to give us, continue to split it, and no money was saved. Yeah, now I'm going to a point. Yeah. The point I'm making is that by the time the president, by the time General Muhammad Buhari was making these promises, that was the selling price for our crude product. The moment he took over on May 29, you can do a Google search. My brother, there was a drastic fall in petroleum product sales. Yeah. It came to about $30 per barrel. And so you now found a situation where you were having an expectation of a buoyant economy, an economy that was almost grinding to a comatose or grinding to a halt fell into your hand. You just need to manage what you have. And thank God there was already TSA initiated by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, which he didn't implement. But the president implemented it, and that saved the country. The treasury single account saved the economists can tell you can't even do a Google search. It's not Buhari that initiated it. But these are facts to tell you that the economy, the buoyancy wasn't there anymore when he was making these promises.
Yeah, let us not mix things up now. We are looking at, you talked about the fuel refinery. Yes. That's what we are talking about now. We are really not looking at the economy as it were. Now, I said that your old party, the All Progressives Congress, we remember they told us that they were going to make the refineries work, just the way you are still saying now. You have mentioned it here and all that. So the question is, what is the assurance this time? What are you bringing on board? What are you telling people now that perhaps is going to be new to them? I mean, you have said this all over and all over again. And that leads us to want to ask the question, what confidence do you think people have in your campaigns that you are doing now?
Yeah, the confidence that people have in our campaign, is quite resounding because it borders about the candidates that has been thrown up. Without mentioning his name, the candidate my candidate has thrown up is a candidate with a productive pedigree. A pedigree that is critical to resource, generation. A pedigree that is critical to, team play, teamwork. For instance, he demonstrated the team play when he went to Chatham House. Questions were asked. He answered about 60% and shared 40%.
What about as it
so the point we are trying to make is, we are going there. You see, availability of fuel is critical. Is critical to the quality of team play that you have. You see, when you have served as a council chairman, for instance, and you are able to turn the fortunes of the people around, the same people can project you to become governor. Because given the availability of space and opportunity, and also in view of the team play network that you have, reservoir, you see, we are dealing with a candidate, for instance, who has the capacity to mobilize the right expertise. He has said, for instance, during his campaign, without mentioning his name, that the days of subsidy is going to be over. And with the refineries and modular refineries, the big refineries and modular refineries coming upstream, I'm aware that some of these refineries, that's why I would have loved a co-discussant to be here, the union, who is in the refinery, because I'm aware that the Kaduna refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery, and the Warri refinery, they got some money about some 2-3 years ago for their turnaround maintenance. And I'm also aware that they were also producing.
Got from who now?
Yeah, from the federal government. Absolutely. You can even do a Google search on it. They were funded. So, but the problem I have is, why are they not performing optimally?
But the issue here,
I think it also borders about union. Yeah. And you can also rule out sabotage from some of these things. You can rule out sabotage.
Now, what has happened to the government refineries? Why has your government over the past 8 years now, all the government refineries, most government refineries in Nigeria are grounded. The one in Edo State here is not functional. So why has your government not been able to fix
Edo State has no refinery. Edo State has no refinery.
I'm talking about the depot now, not the refinery. I beg your pardon, the depots now. The depot in Benin City is not working as it were. other depots in the country are not working, except the private depots. So why has your government not been able to fix this depot? Because that seems to be the major problem now. Now, this fuel that is being imported into the country, they don't go to the government depot anymore. They go to private depot, private depots owned by politicians, as it were, also too. And of course, that gives rise to why fuel now comes at a very exorbitant rate. So why has your government not been able to fix depots? If your government is not able to fix refineries, what about the depots?
Yeah, I think some of these things are, industrial unions related. You see, the Hydra-headed, challenge of managing human capital in this country is something that requires, beyond knowledge, you require God. Okay? The unions, for instance, constitute a significant drawbacks in a number of ways. You understand what I'm saying? And so I know, for instance, that these depot issues have to do with the IPMAN, the other group having issues and all that. And so I would want to think that it borders largely on, what I call, unions insurgency. Okay, there's what I call trade union insurgencies, where unions now constitute a huge drawback, to the welfare development of the people. It may interest you, for instance, let me just digress a little bit, that up to tomatoes union, they will not allow somebody who ferry his or her tomatoes from Kaduna or Kano to Edo to sell directly to the people without first selling these things as cheap as possible to the union, and the union now said as exorbitant as they wish. So the point we are making is that unions have a way, and it is my hope that the governments that we are projecting to bring by the special grace of God and through the electoral kindness and goodwill of the people, come on board, will be able to drastically confront these unions to within the wavelength of the minimum expectations of the people, especially the welfare concerns of our people. Okay.
Now, the unbonding of the NNPC perhaps is one issue that we should also talk about. Your government told us that when the NNPC is unbonded, that perhaps that will reduce some of the issues as it relates to fuel scarcity and all that. We've seen the unbonding of the NNPC now, and we are still in this situation. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, you see, everything is a process. Rome was not built in a day. Even our common rooms, no one is built in a day. The unbundling of NNPC is a process that I know, that most Nigerians know, that is going to, usher in, economic transformation of our country. Before now, we used to have an NNPC that was a Father Christmas, a bazaar for the ruling class. Now, with the PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, that further led to the unbundling of NNPC, we now find an NNPC that is business-oriented, accountable to Nigerians, whose books are readily available for auditing and accounting processes. I also want to think that this is going to lead to massive employment of Nigerians, which we are already going to see in the next couple of weeks and months. And so for me, the unbundling of NNPC is a process, is an ongoing process that is going to continually create these assurances that all of us are looking up to. For instance, NNPC currently has 20% shareholding in the largest refinery in Africa. And that in itself, that is the major stakeholder in the refinery. That in itself shows that NNPC is part and parcel of the largest refinery. Okay. And that in itself is going to lead just now, not only to availability of petroleum products, this cheapness, then you're also going to see hundreds of micro refinery industries erupting around Lagos, the environs, trickling to Edo and some of these other states. And so because when a refinery is in a place, There are auxiliary industries, auxiliary companies, auxiliary vendors that will have to provide services, and this leads to job creation, and this leads to employment of our ably qualified and employable Nigerian youths.
All right, so this is how time will permit us to take on the show today. I want to say a very big thank you to Ayamekwe Edukbolo for finding time to come on the show.
Thank you so much, my brother, for having me.
We also most sincerely thank you for watching the program today, this morning on ITV. And also this is where we end the show today, this morning on ITV. My name is Evan Sunukoge. Thanks, and the program is going to return same time tomorrow with Daniel Princess. Goodbye and God bless you.